I found out my sister was sleeping with my boyfriend the same week. She forged my dead father's signature. Let that sink in for a second. Same week. I didn't cry when I found out. I didn't scream. I just sat down on my kitchen floor, with the papers still in my hand, and I laughed. A real laugh. Because it was so absurd, so cruel, so perfectly timed, that my brain couldn't process it as real life. But it was real life. My real life. And if you're watching this right now, if somewhere deep down you already know that a person in your own family is capable of something like this, stay with me, because I'm about to tell you exactly how it happened, how I almost lost everything, and how I found my way back. Okay, let me back up. My name doesn't matter for this story. What matters is that I grew up in a house with one older sister. Her name was Rachel. We'll just call her that. Growing up, people always said we were close. And on the surface, we were. We shared a room until I was 12. We used to make up secret languages when we were kids so our parents couldn't understand us at the dinner table. She used to braid my hair before school because I never could get it right. But underneath all of that, there was always something else. A kind of quiet competition that nobody talked about out loud. Rachel was 3 years older than me. And in our family, being older meant something. It meant you got treated like you were already an adult, even when you clearly weren't. It meant when something went wrong, people assumed it wasn't your fault, it was just growing pains. I was always the quiet one, the one who got good grades, who didn't cause problems, who just showed up and did the work. Rachel was the loud one, the charming one, the one who could talk her way out of anything. You know that dynamic. Maybe you lived it too. One sibling gets called the responsible one, and the other gets called the fun one. And nobody ever stops to ask what that does to both of you long term. My dad passed away almost 2 years ago now. Pancreatic cancer. Fast. Brutal. 4 months from diagnosis to the funeral. I'm not going to spend too much time on that part, because honestly, some things are still too heavy to put into words, even now. But I need you to understand something important. My dad was not a rich man. He wasn't a millionaire. He was a mechanic who worked 6 days a week for almost 40 years. He drove the same truck for over a decade because he refused to buy something new when the old one still ran fine. What he did have, though, was a small house, paid off, and some savings. Not a fortune, but enough that it actually meant something. Enough to change a life. And in his final weeks, when he could barely speak above a whisper, he told me something. He said, "I want you to have the house. You're the one who never asked me for anything. You're the one who'll actually take care of it." I remember holding his hand and telling him not to talk like that, like it was already decided, like he was already gone. But he insisted. He made me promise I'd take care of things. Not just the house. Things. Family. Us. I promised him. Of course I promised him. I didn't know that promise would end up costing me almost everything. After the funeral, things were quiet for a while. Too quiet, honestly. That's the part nobody warns you about grief. It's not just the sadness. It's the silence afterward. The phone doesn't ring as much. People stop checking in after the first few weeks. And you're just there. Alone with it. About 2 months after he passed, Rachel started coming around more. At first, I was happy about it. I thought, okay, maybe this is what grief does. Maybe it brings people together. Maybe we're finally going to be close the way people always assumed we were. She started helping with paperwork. She said she wanted to take some of the burden off me, since I was always the one who handled everything anyway. She said it so sweetly. She said it like she was doing me a favor. I want you to remember that phrase. Taking the burden off me. Because it's going to come back later in this story, and it's going to sound very different the second time. Around this same time, my boyfriend, I'll call him Mark, started spending a lot more time at my place. We'd been together almost 3 years at that point. He was charming, he made me laugh, and honestly, after losing my dad, he felt like one of the only stable things left in my life. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Looking back now, I can see the cracks. I just didn't want to see them then. Mark and Rachel had always gotten along. Like really well. I used to joke that they had more in common with each other than either of them had with me. They both loved the same trashy reality shows. They both had this dark, sarcastic sense of humor. They'd finish each other's jokes before I even understood the setup. I used to think that was sweet. My boyfriend and my sister getting along so well. I actually used to feel lucky about it. You might be wondering how I didn't see it. Trust me, I ask myself that same question more than you'd think. But grief does something to your perception. It makes you tired in a way that goes bone deep. You stop noticing small things because you're just trying to survive the big thing. I was so focused on missing my dad, on handling his affairs, on trying to hold myself together for work and for life. I wasn't watching my own relationship. I wasn't watching my own sister. About 4 months after the funeral, Rachel offered to help me file the paperwork to transfer the house title into my name, since that's what dads will specified. She said she knew a family friend who did this kind of legal work cheap, almost as a favor. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was my sister. I signed some documents. She told me it was standard stuff. Title transfer paperwork, some notarized statements, nothing complicated. I didn't read every line carefully. I know. I should have. But when you're grieving, when you trust someone completely, you don't imagine you need to protect yourself from them. That was my first mistake. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, subtly, I started noticing small things that didn't sit right. Mark started being weird about his phone. Little things, like turning the screen away when a text came in, taking calls in another room, forgetting his passcode when I picked up his phone once to check the weather. At the same time, Rachel started acting strange whenever I brought up Dad's estate. She'd change the subject fast. She'd say things like, "Don't stress about the house stuff, I've got it handled," in this tone that felt more controlling than comforting. I remember one night specifically, I asked her directly, "Hey, did that title transfer ever finalize? I want to make sure everything's actually in my name." And she looked at me for just a second too long before she smiled and said, "Yeah, don't worry about it. It's basically done." Basically done. Not done. Basically done. I let it go. Because I trusted her. Because she was my sister. Because my dad had raised us to believe that family doesn't betray family. I was wrong about that. Painfully, expensively wrong. Here's where everything changed. It was a random Tuesday. Nothing special about the day at all. I was going through some old files on my laptop, looking for a scanned copy of my dad's will because I needed it for something unrelated, some benefits paperwork through his old job. And that's when I found an email. An old email thread I had somehow never noticed before, buried in a folder Rachel must have set up on a shared cloud drive we use for photos. It was between Rachel and a lawyer. Not the family friend she told me about. An actual real estate attorney. And in that email thread, she was asking questions about how to legally transfer property title using a power of attorney document, and asking whether a signature could be added retroactively if, and I quote, "the original party is medically unable to object." My stomach dropped. Medically unable to object. My dad, in his final weeks, was heavily medicated, barely conscious some days. And there it was, in writing, my own sister discussing how to use his condition against him. I sat there staring at the screen for what felt like 20 minutes. Not moving. Just staring. Then I did something I'm not proud of, but I don't regret. I went digging. I pulled every document related to the house. I found the actual title transfer paperwork Rachel had me sign. And buried in the fine print, in language I definitely should have read more carefully the first time, was a clause adding her as a joint owner of the property, not just helping me file paperwork. Adding herself, legally, with my own signature on the same page. I felt sick, physically sick. But it got worse. While I was in this state, phone in hand, hands shaking, I made the mistake of trying to call Mark. I needed to hear a normal voice. I needed someone to tell me I wasn't crazy, that this was really happening. He didn't pick up. I called again. Nothing. So I did something impulsive. I drove to his apartment. I still had a key. I let myself in, planning to just wait for him, maybe calm down before he got home. Instead, I found his phone on the counter, unlocked, because apparently in his panic to leave for whatever he was doing, he forgot to lock it. And there they were. Messages between him and Rachel. Not friendly banter. Not sarcastic jokes. Messages that made it very clear this had been going on for months. Long before I even found the title fraud. Since right around the time she started helping more after Dad passed. I want to be honest with you here. In that moment, sitting on his couch with his phone in my hands, I didn't feel rage first. I felt shame. Isn't that strange? I felt embarrassed, like somehow I had missed obvious signs, like I had let this happen to myself. But shame doesn't last forever when the truth is this loud. Somewhere between reading message 12 and message 40, the shame turned into something else. Something clearer. Something that didn't shake anymore. I left his apartment without waiting for him to come home. I didn't want a confrontation in his space on his terms. I wanted answers on my own terms. I confronted Rachel first. Not Mark. Rachel. I drove straight to her place that same night, still holding printouts of the email thread and the title documents. She opened the door already looking guilty. That's the thing about betrayal. Sometimes people already know when they're caught before you say a single word. It's written all over their face. I didn't yell. I want you to know that. I've watched enough of these stories online to know people expect screaming, doors slamming, dramatic breakdowns. That's not what happened. I was too exhausted for drama. I just held up the papers and said, "Explain this to me." She tried the usual things first. "You're misunderstanding it. It's not what it looks like." I was trying to protect the house for both of us. Then when that didn't work, she switched to blame. "You were always Dad's favorite anyway, this makes it fair." As if betrayal could ever be justified as fairness. That sentence actually helped me more than it hurt me, weirdly enough. Because it told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was calculated. She had convinced herself she deserved it. Then I asked about Mark. She didn't even deny it right away. She just went quiet. And that silence said more than any confession could have. I left her apartment that night with a strange kind of clarity. Not peace. Not yet. But clarity. You might be wondering what I did next. Did I go to the police? Did I sue her? Did I confront Mark in some big dramatic scene? Here's the truth. I did all three eventually. But not that night. That night, I just went home, sat on my kitchen floor, and let myself feel everything at once. The grief for my dad. The rage at my sister. The humiliation about Mark. All of it, all at once, no filter. I think that night was actually the most important part of this whole story. Because I let myself fall apart completely, just once fully, without trying to be strong for anyone. And somewhere around 3 a.m., something shifted. I stopped feeling like a victim in that moment, and started feeling like someone who had work to do. The next morning, I called a lawyer. A real one this time, not someone recommended by Rachel. I explained everything. The forged signature. The joint ownership clause added without my full understanding. The timing of the emails compared to my father's medical condition during his final weeks. The lawyer was blunt with me. She said cases like this are hard, but not impossible, especially with written evidence showing intent. The email thread was key. It proved Rachel had researched exploiting my father's medical state specifically. That's not something you can accidentally stumble into. That takes planning. We filed a legal claim to reverse the property transfer, citing fraud and undue influence. I won't bore you with all the legal details, because honestly a lot of it was slow, tedious, and expensive. Legal battles are not like they show in movies. There's no dramatic courtroom speech that changes everything in one scene. It's paperwork. It's waiting. It's more paperwork. But here's something important I learned during that process. Having evidence changes everything. If I hadn't found that email thread, if I hadn't dug through those documents, this would have been my word against hers. Emotion against emotion. And in cases like that, the more convincing liar usually wins. Evidence doesn't lie, even when people do. The case took almost 8 months. 8 long, draining months of mediation, document requests, and one deposition that I genuinely still have nightmares about, where Rachel sat across from me trying to paint herself as the victim of our father's supposed favoritism. In the end, The court ruled that the joint ownership clause was invalid due to lack of full disclosure and evidence of manipulation during a period of diminished capacity. The house came back into my name. Fully. Solely. It wasn't a total, clean victory in the emotional sense though. Legal wins don't undo betrayal. They don't rebuild trust. They don't give you back the sister you thought you had. As for Mark, that ended the same week I confronted Rachel. I didn't need evidence for that one. I didn't need a lawyer. I just needed to walk away, and I did. No dramatic breakup scene. Just silence, a returned key, and a door that finally, quietly, closed for good. I want to pause here and talk to you directly for a second, because I think this is the part that actually matters most. For a long time after all of this, I kept asking myself the same question. Why didn't I see it coming? Was I stupid? Was I too trusting? Too naive? And the answer I eventually landed on is this. Trusting people isn't stupidity. Believing family means something isn't naivety. The blame for betrayal belongs entirely to the person who chooses to betray you, not to the person who simply chose to love and trust. I used to think being the responsible one, the quiet one, meant I had to hold everything together no matter what. I used to think loyalty meant staying silent, even when something felt wrong. I don't believe that anymore. Here's what I learned, and I hope you take this seriously, whoever you are watching this right now. Number 1. Document everything. Especially with family. I know it feels cold, it feels distrustful, it feels like you're preparing for war before a battle even starts. But protecting yourself on paper protects your future self from exactly this kind of situation. Number 2. Pay attention when someone insists on handling things for you, a little too eagerly. Help is good. Help without transparency is a warning sign. Number 3. Grief makes you vulnerable. People who truly love you protect you during that vulnerability. People who don't exploit it. Watch closely who shows up during your hardest moments, and watch even closer why. Number 4. You are allowed to protect what's yours, even from family. Especially from family. Blood doesn't automatically mean loyalty. Loyalty is earned through actions, not assumed through DNA. And number 5, maybe the most important one. Losing people who betray you isn't always a loss. Sometimes it's a filter. It removes people who were only ever there for what they could take, not for who you actually are. It's been almost a year since the court ruling now. I still own that house. My dad's house. I've slowly been fixing it up, room by room, weekend by weekend. There's something healing about that process, honestly. Repainting the walls he painted. Replacing the old fence he always meant to fix but never got around to. Rachel and I don't speak anymore. I won't pretend that doesn't hurt sometimes, especially around holidays, especially when I see old photos of us as kids braiding each other's hair. But I've made peace with the fact that some relationships end not because you stopped loving someone, but because they stopped deserving that love a long time before you noticed. As for Mark, I heard through mutual friends that things didn't work out between him and Rachel either. I won't lie, there was a small, petty part of me that felt something close to satisfaction hearing that. But mostly, I just felt relief that I wasn't part of that story anymore. I started therapy a few months after everything settled. Not because I was falling apart, but because I wanted to actually understand the patterns that let this happen, the family dynamics, the roles we get assigned as kids that follow us into adulthood. It's been one of the best decisions I've made. I also started being a lot more careful about who I let close to me. Not closed off, not bitter, just careful. There's a difference between building walls and building healthy boundaries. I finally understand that difference now. If you made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you for actually listening to my story. I know stories like this are hard to hear sometimes. Betrayal from family, betrayal from someone you loved, all at once. It's a lot. But I wanted to share this because I think a lot of people go through versions of this same thing and feel completely alone in it. Feel like maybe they did something wrong. Maybe they should have seen it coming. Maybe it was somehow their fault. It wasn't your fault. If this resonates with you in any way, if you're going through something similar right now, please hear me say this clearly. It is not your fault. I want to ask you something before you go. Have you ever had someone in your own family, someone you trusted completely, do something that shattered everything you thought you knew about them? I'd genuinely love to hear about it in the comments below. Sometimes just writing it out, just saying it to strangers who understand, helps more than you'd expect. It helped me more than I can explain, writing all of this down to share with you today. If this story meant something to you, if it made you feel a little less alone, please consider subscribing. I share stories like this regularly, real stories, real struggles, real people trying to find their way back to themselves after everything falls apart. And remember this: losing people who were never really loyal to you in the first place isn't the tragedy it feels like in the moment. The real tragedy would have been never finding out the truth at all. Take care of yourselves. And take care of the people who actually deserve your trust. I'll see you in the next one.